first, let's hear from Josh Allen on the loss.
It comes down to my shoulders and my shoulders only, making the right decisions, making the right throws, putting our best foot forward in practice. This one's going to suck watching. Only ways forward. We gotta find a way to put this behind us and not let it affect our next one.
3 straight second halves like this, how discouraging is that, and do you have an explanation?
No explanation as of now, just we got to execute better. That's on my shoulders. Again, 4 turnovers today, 3 were by me, and losing sucks. That's just what it is. You hate to lose, especially that way.
Yeah. Not the same guy there as the guy on TikTok with the trick shots with the ping pong ball, Josh Allen. He was a little bit out of it. He did not play well at all. I'm not sure how much his UCL sprain had to do with that. But, I mean, the sneaky thing with the Bills now is this is 3 weeks in a row of Josh Allen not being great. And to me, that's the biggest concern coming out of this game. This doesn't look like the offense that we thought it was going to be a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's NFL and then there's fantasy, right? From the NFL, there's certainly cause for concern as we sit here and watch some video of Josh Allen throwing some red zone interceptions. Like, if you told me in this game there's going to be a couple of red zone turnovers, you'd be like, oh, so Kirk Cousins does his Kirk Cousins thing? Yeah. And no, Josh Allen does his best Kirk Cousins impression. We're not even at Halloween. There's those concerns there from the offense. I will say this, though, fantasy-wise, like, he's had at least 23 fantasy points in 7 of 9 games this year. He's had back-to-back games with over 80 rushing yards. That was one concern coming into the game. Like, would they limit his rushing based on the injury? And they certainly didn't. No. I mean, he's thrown 43 times. He threw for 330 yards. He had over 80 rushing yards in this game, Jay. Like, from a fantasy perspective, you're pretty happy with the numbers he put up here. You know, you don't love the turnovers. I think the concern, I guess my point is it feels like this is probably a bigger discussion for like Pro Football Talk and Sims Unbuttoned than it is necessarily for us, because from our perspective, like, are you changing how you feel about Josh Allen? Like, he's still, like, if we're drafting today, is there a quarterback you're taking over? Maybe Justin Fields, but like, I mean, like, right?
Genuinely.
But I mean, like, Josh Allen is still an elite fantasy quarterback, still an elite top 3 option at the position. You're still starting Stephon Diggs every day. Gabe Davis had a really nice game, even though, you know, one catch probably should have been challenged there. I think the struggle for the Bills, so I guess it's more of an NFL discussion, I think, than a fantasy discussion, because I think you feel good about Gabe Davis. You feel good about Devin Singletary.
I will say, from the fantasy perspective, Josh Allen, he was not feeling his UCL sprain at all. He dived into Patrick Peterson, like pilot episode of Friday Night Lights style, to try and stop that interception return. He looked completely fine from a health perspective. It was more just the performance and the decision-making. So you feel fine about Allen, Diggs, Davis? Yeah,
I mean, I think so. Like, look, was it as great a game as it could have been? Sure. No. I mean, like, and is there, sort of like cause for concern? He's had under 20 fantasy points in 2 of the last 3. Okay, sure. A little bit. But, like, the quarterback play has been so poor this year. Like, if somebody's panicking on Josh Allen, I'd rather trade for him than try to trade away, if that makes any sense. I'm willing to bet on Josh Allen here. They're home to Cleveland next week, then at Detroit. So, I mean, next 2 weeks feels like, I mean, we just saw Tua and what he did to Cleveland. I'm not ready to panic just yet on Josh Allen, especially given the fact guy didn't practice all week long. And the Vikings are legit. Give Minnesota credit.
Yeah, well, give Justin Jefferson credit, because that was about as dominant a wide receiver game as I can ever imagine in that type of profile of game, a regular season anyway. Jefferson just out of his mind. Here is the catch. 4th and 18. Based to save the game. Justin Jefferson only needs one hand off balance versus the 2.
This is Lewis. Everyone on Twitter was like, catch of the century, and I think I said that too. And it's just like, yeah, probably. Just the degree of difficulty, the fact that he keeps it above it, never actually hits the ground. It's one-handed, 4th and 18 on the road against a huge, a team that everyone says, like, you're not real. The Vikings, you aren't real. And the big wins they've had all have asterisks. And so now they come in, and they're on the road at Buffalo facing Josh Allen. And, again, 4th and 18, he just comes up. And, by the way, as amazing as that catch is by Justin Jefferson, again, like, I think I tweeted out, give him the SP now. Like, just, unbelievable. Catch of the year, catch of the decade, catch of the century. But give credit to Kirk Cousins, because that's not a throw he normally makes. And here's what I mean. Kirk Cousins is one of those quarterbacks that, like, you have to be open. That's been one of the criticisms of Cousins throughout his career, is that he won't throw a guy open. Like, he has to see that the guy has separation before he'll throw it. He won't throw those 50-50 balls. And in that one, that was not even a 50-50 ball. It was like a 25-75 ball. Yep. But Justin Jefferson came down with it. So he just sort of trusted Justin Jefferson to make a play. Like, Justin Jefferson wasn't open on that play, but Kirk Cousins said, I'm just going to put this ball up and let my guy go try to make a play, which is not something Cousins often does. So credit to Kirk Cousins there, too.
Yeah, and I think that's just part of the building the chemistry with Justin Jefferson. I don't have the stat in front of me, but I think there might have been like 10 games last year where Jefferson didn't crack 90 yards, whereas he's doing that every single week now, and it's just out of his mind. Yeah, I don't think there's too much to say about Justin Jefferson outside of he's a freak. He's now the favorite to lead the league in receiving yards. It's him and Tirico Hill in their own tier at the moment.
Yeah, and the only concern, I don't know that Kirk Cousins is throwing the ball 50 times, which is what he did in this game here, but, you're happy to see Hawkinson didn't have a huge game, but double-digit targets, 7 for 45 in this one. Thielen 5 for 49. Feels like Thielen takes a bit of a step back with Hawkins there. Dalvin Cook obviously has another big Dalvin Cook-like game. So Vikings are as the Vikings go. The Bills, though, I think this is the one thing I do want to mention on the Bills. Last thing here is Devin Singletary, which he fell into the end zone a little bit, but what I think was positive here is he played more than half the snaps. He played a significant amount of snaps, and so you sit there and go 13 for 47, whatever. 2 touchdowns is nice. How much can you count on that? But, he's had at least 14 touches in 3 of the past 4 games. He's played over 70% of snaps in all 4 games. So if you're going to be on the field that much in the Bills' offense, I think good things will often happen, more often than not.
Yep. Last thing from me is that right now in BetMGM, the Bills are still the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I don't agree with that. I think Kansas City at plus 450 should be the favorites just because they have a much clearer path to the 1 seed now and the bye.
It's a better bet.
Let's go on to Germany. Our favorite country
at
the moment.
Guten Tag.
Amazing showing from the Germans. They really showed out.
They did.
That was a Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund game. They got a decent game. It turned into a decent game.
That was a soccer reference, by the way.
Yeah, Bayern Munich's a soccer team.
Yeah. People don't think I got that.
There was a lot of kicking.
But I got it.
Yeah.
I just want you guys to know I got it. Surprised we didn't flash a little Premier League logo or something like that, because we're company men. I'm just saying, everyone thinks I'm football only, but I'm an international man of mystery.
We'll see Matthew Berry on the Premier League coverage soon. You can hear his thoughts on Arsenal-Brentford to come. But let's talk about
I like Arsenal in that one.
Yeah, you like the Gunners?
Yeah.
Plus 220 to win the Premier League.
There you go.
Yeah, lift the cup.
Bet it down.
All right.
Bet MGM.
Let's talk about Tampa Bay's offense.
Everyone knows I'm a Westfield Ham guy.
Westfield.
I don't know. What
West Ham?
West Ham, that's what I am.
They're the team. They're
West Ham.
The rough team from London.
Those are my 2 teams, West Ham and AFC Richmond.
Yeah, Westfield Ham.
Yeah,
that's
whatever
ridiculous.
it was. West Ham. Somebody back on my old podcast, we were just talking about I needed a soccer team and I needed to come up with some, and so someone went to my Wikipedia page and said that I was a West Ham fan. So I'm just like, all right, I'm in. I'm in on West Ham.
Westfield ham is a type of meat that you buy at a deli in the Westfield shopping center.
Also a fan of that.
Yeah, like
by
that.
By the way, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
On rye with some lettuce and mayonnaise, yeah, give me a piece of that. Right. Fantastic.
Speaking of that, let's go to Tom Brady's yards per attempt. 8.9 against the Seahawks in Germany. First game this season above 8. I wouldn't overreact to this performance from Tampa Bay's offense. They looked a little bit better. At the same time, they scored 21 points and they needed to go 10 of 15 on 3rd down to do that. But I think the big story, we can talk about Brady, but the big story is Rachaad White, who goes 22 carries for 105 yards with Leonard Fournette getting hurt.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing here. So first off, it's worth noting that Fournette left the game in the 3rd quarter. He has a hip injury. They're on a bye next week, so we will see how serious this injury is for Fournette. And we'll talk more about Rachaad White tomorrow, obviously, during the waiver wire show. We've talked about Rachaad White on this show for a number of weeks, but I think the important thing here is he took every snap on the first drive. Career highs, obviously, in rushing attempts before halftime. Right, in the first half, 22-18 edge in snaps to Leonard Fournette in the first half. Obviously, once Fournette left, he played almost every snap there. But after the game, Tom Brady was talking about the fact that it opens, when you can run the ball effectively, it just opens it up. And so the fact is that this is a team that, when you have Rachaad White running 22 for 105 and averaging almost 5 yards a carry, that just opens things up for Brady, allows him to be efficient. To your point, he only threw he only completed 22 passes in this one, 22 of 29 though. Super efficient there, and so he doesn't need the crazy volume because there's a balance of attack there. And so I think it is the part that I want to read into is the fact that they were able to run the ball effectively, that they feel like they found something in Rachaad White. And it's weird because White was actually the better pass catcher in college. But if Rachaad White can continue to run effectively, and again, they have a bye, then they're at the Browns. Browns don't scare you run defense-wise. I mean, we just saw Miami run all over them. So then maybe there's some confidence that could happen here with the Buccaneers. Then they play the Saints and the Niners, so it gets a little bit tougher after the Browns. But again, it was an encouraging sign.
Definitely.
Right?
And I think for the passing game as well, that 8.9 yards per attempt, the encouraging thing is that there were 5 different Bucs who caught passes of at least 19 yards. Brady hadn't been having that depth to his game. Now, I don't think the Seahawks played great pass defense that game, where outside of, unless Leonard Fournette was playing quarterback, but outside of that, they had some really bad blown coverages on 3rd and long. So I wouldn't be too excited about the Tampa Bay passing game, but at least it showed something.
Well, it showed signs of life. I mean, again, Brady is one of the league leaders in terms of passing yards per game. The problem is the touchdowns since haven't been there, and some of that's fluky, and some of that, to Brady's point, is like they've been so one-sided on offense, and so going into the bye and maybe working on some things, if they found something in White, to the extent you care about Godwin and Evans, and you do, this is really good news for them. We'll talk about White tomorrow during the waiver wire show, but I do think Brady. Maybe slightly, you feel better about Brady on your roster than you did going into Week 10.
Definitely, against an improved Seattle pass defense. Let's go to Kansas City and talk about a couple of the most popular waiver wire pickups of the past month, Kadarius Toney and Isaiah Pacheco. Let's start with Kadarius Toney, who really came out of nowhere to be a huge part of this Kansas City offense. He goes for 90 yards total, and that touchdown, hopping into the end zone, his first touchdown in the NFL because he never got one as a New York Giant, helps playing with Patrick Mahomes. And I think that, he's obviously got to be rostered in every league going forward, and he's a big part of this offense. It looks like, though, Mecole Hardman was out and Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's the point. To me, that's the point. Before, I get it, right? And everyone's just, I get it. He's a gadget player. He's exciting. He's freed from New York, and he's in Kansas City with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and all sorts of fantasy magic's going to happen. But the fact is, hang on though. The fact is that he's still, like, if you just, he had 5 targets in this game. In a game in which Juju Smith-Schuster left early, got that awful hit. We'll talk about that in a second. And no Mecole Hardman in this game. And yet, even with those 2 guys out, Kadarius Toney still only got 5 targets. He got less targets than Kelsey. He got less targets than Jerick McKinnon. He had only 1 more target than Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who had the better fantasy day. Marquez Valdes-Scantling 3 for 60 with a touchdown. Kadarius Toney 457 with a touchdown as well. I'm worried that people are going to overhype him. He played less than 50% of the snaps, right? Again, he's just gotten there, but they're coming off the bye, or not off the bye. The bye was 2 weeks ago, but still, he played less than 50% of the snaps.
I feel like you've positioned yourself against Kadarius Toney.
I'm not. I like Kadarius Toney. I think he's a good player, and anytime you're on the field with Patrick Mahomes, good things can happen. I see some people on fantasy Twitter going crazy, and I just want to caution people okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm not saying this can't be repeatable, because he's got a great quarterback, a great offensive mind, and a really unique skill set. All of those things are super positives. But there are fluky things that happen in this game that aren't necessarily going to be there. Again, we don't know the extent of Juju Smith-Schuster's injury. But it could be a concussion. He could be back next week. We just don't know. I don't know how serious Mecole Hardman's injury is. Mecole Hardman could be back next week. And I don't believe, if Juju and Mecole Hardman are active for next week, that Kadarius Toney is third on this team in targets and routes run and snaps.
Yep.
I just don't. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I don't think suddenly after one game he suddenly leapfrogs them.
Yep, I think there is a very good chance that 90 yards and a touchdown is going to be the best game that Kadarius Toney has all year. Like, that is definitely in play. He could obviously exceed that as well. I do agree that with those guys coming back, that's going to eat into his share of targets and play. But at the same time, I will say that, one, I think he's the most talented receiver on Kansas City. Two, I think they believe in him because of what they gave up for him. And then three, Patrick Mahomes only threw the ball 35 times this game because they were leading the entire way. And yes, the Chiefs do tend to lead games, but Mahomes will generally complete more than 26 passes in a game. So I do think there's a little bit more to go around. So I think he's probably going to be a viable flex going forward on average, but probably not going to be that wide receiver 2 that a lot of people are hyping him up to be.
They're the Sunday Night Football game next week. The Chiefs are. They play the Chargers, and Chargers are pretty good pass defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you can run
defense.
They're very, very bad run defense, but they're a pretty good pass defense. So we will see. Again, that game will be Sunday night right here on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man.
Well, let's talk about that backfield.
That's the important thing. To me, that's the bigger story here. Kadarius Toney is going to,
bye-bye. He had nothing to do with the offense. I thought if you looked at the box score, you might have thought that he just didn't play at all or he's injured, but he did get 2 targets in the pass game. He didn't catch either of them. But in terms of the backfield
is his new name Clyde Edwards Disappear?
No,
hello,
hey
right. Now, from way downtown. The kid still got it. I called glass. That went in.
Deeper shot than Jeff Sunday. Let's take it. So as we look at the backfield splits, Isaiah Pacheco,
dad jokes.
56% of the snaps to McKinnon 38% and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the nowhere man, 6%. But the big thing is that McKinnon got 16 of the 17 rushes, and Pacheco did, and Pacheco's the guy you want going forward.
Yeah, I thought a lot of positives here, right? 57% of the offensive snaps, third highest snap share for a Chiefs running back this season, as you referenced as well. It's his third straight game as quote-unquote the starter. They use multiple running backs here. And career highs in rush attempts, rushing yards, and also he had a bad fumble in this game, and they went right back to him. To me, that was the biggest indicator. Like, after the fumble, they weren't like, okay, Rook, you know what, is what it is. Why don't you sit down and learn your lesson the way some teams were. They went right back to him. Now, he has no involvement in the passing game, right? Last 4 games, he's got 1 reception. He's had, I'm sorry. So he's a really talented, interesting rusher, but it's a first and second down role on still a pass-first team. Having said that, and we'll talk more about Pacheco tomorrow in the waiver wire show, like, you certainly don't feel great about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has had 37 total rush yards in his last 3 games, under 7 fantasy points in 4 or 5. And we talked about what a sell high he was at the beginning of the year. I will say, like, I didn't see this coming. Like, we were like, the touchdown rate's unsustainable. It's obviously going to come crashing down to earth. Like, it's ridiculous. But I didn't see this, where they just completely went away from him. Worth noting, by the way, that Jerick McKinnon, continues to be involved in the passing game here. McKinnon, 6 for 56 on 8 targets. And so, like, in deeper PPR leagues, like kind of a J.D. McKissick type role, J.D. McKissick last year, like, if this is truly what it's going to be Pacheco and McKinnon the rest of the way, both those guys have flex value in leagues if CEH is gone. Again, let's see what happens next week. It's 1 week, but this is certainly very eye-opening. I will say this, that if you were using CEH at the beginning of the year and just rolling with him, you can no longer do that. No. Like, if he gets dropped in any league that I'm in, I don't have him in any team. If he gets dropped in any league that I'm in, I'm not picking him up.
Yep.
I'm not recommending necessarily dropping because you want to see what happens, but feels like the writing's on the wall a little bit here for CEH.
It does. Okay, writing's not on the wall for the next man we're going to talk about. Let's hear from Jeff Saturday on yesterday's win.
Not his name.
In truth, I felt very at peace. I felt like we had a really good plan in place. I felt like all the men who I had talked about empowering and giving them the ability to do what they can do exceptionally well, they all stepped up. And so I knew what my role was, and I was going to execute my role to the best of my ability, and I was going to allow all of those men to do the same. The most unfamiliar I am is when I'm in the, with the staff or, whatever things, like yesterday, getting to the hotel. It's all the logistics that are abnormal for me. But everything else, when I get anywhere near the field, the grass, the locker room, that's like, it's just a relief, right? I mean, that's the area I want to be in.
There you go. Jeff Sunday, easy guy to root for here.
Whenever he gives a press conference, I always feel like he's prepping like Matthew McConaughey's team in Interstellar to go save the universe, as opposed to like Jonathan Taylor hit the A, or
hit
break
the A gap.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, like, but I talked about this. I mean, I talked about this when the job name. Like, I'm just like, that's who that guy is. Like, it's somebody who literally worked with him for years and sat next to him for a number. Like, he's that guy, right? He's a nice, charismatic, charming, upbeat, guy that, you feel. And so, I thought, like, again, don't know what kind of offense he's going to run. Going to be a little bit, turns out it's more run heavy. But, like, the guys will believe in him. They'll buy in, and they clearly did. I think it's interesting here. It's hard to take, it's one game. It's all, but that's the only sample size we have, right? And I think it is worth noting that the former All-Pro center, offensive line obviously going to be a focal point. They gave up 1 sack, right? And Matt Ryan was pressured on 13% of dropbacks. That is a season low, right? The 4 previous games, 4 of the previous 5 games, they'd been pressured on 39% of dropbacks, and they got that down to 13% against the Raiders. Season high 207 rushing yards. This is the first game this season with multiple rushing touchdowns. That offensive line played well. They kept Matt Ryan clean. They opened up running lanes for him, Matt Ryan to rush for 39 yards. It's so stupid. But the fact of the matter is like, if there's an impact there, it feels like they bought in.
Yep.
They bought in and they won a close game.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the biggest takeaway definitely is that Jonathan Taylor looked like Jonathan Taylor again, suspiciously like the JT of last year. That 66-yard touchdown looked a lot like the, I think, 67-yard touchdown he had against the Patriots to ice that game in December last year. He goes 22 carries, 147 yards, gets that long touchdown, and I think you just project him going forward as, given that he looked healthy. You don't break off a 66-yard run if you're not healthy. So, I mean, I think he projects just going forward as his top 6-7 running back again, right?
Sure. I mean, season high snap rate of 94%, no Deion Jackson in this one, but that makes sense. Like, it's clear that Jeff Saturday, and you're like, wow, it shouldn't take a rocket science to do this, but Jeff Saturday was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play our best players. I want Matt Ryan back under center. And we don't think Matt Ryan's great, but we clearly know he's an upgrade over Sam Ellinger.
He's an NFL quarterback.
He's an NFL quarterback.
Wasn't.
And that's right. And so we're going to play our best players. And, oh, by the way, you know who one of our best players is? Jonathan Taylor. So we're going to just keep feeding him the rock. Ultimately, 24 touches total for JT. It helped that the game was close and they were leading for a lot of it. They play the Eagles next week and then the Steelers. So 2 teams that you can run on. As good as the Eagles.
Look what Damian Pierce did to the Eagles on Thursday night.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about that game coming up a little bit later. They play my Commanders tonight, and I think the Eagles win tonight handily, but I do think Washington will be able to run on Philadelphia. The injuries on the defensive line have really hurt Philly.
Let's also see what happens when Deion Jackson comes back and whether that takes a little bit away from Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
It might a little bit, but I think JT is good to ride with.
But if hopefully you've hung in this long and you've been rewarded for it, because I think he's back. So, like, if nothing else, people should praise Jeff Sunday for that.
Yes, bringing back JT. All right, let's go to Green Bay. But first, let's hear from Christian Watson on Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur keeping the faith.
I think it was huge for me just in terms of obviously, continuing to gain confidence in myself. And obviously, put that confidence out to everyone else to have the confidence in me. But I mean, we got a lot more games to go, and I got to keep on the incline. 12 and Matt both said early. I mean, we're going to come back to you. And I mean, obviously, that hit me at home. Obviously, I know that those are plays I can make. Those are plays that I make every day at practice, and just something I know I'm capable of. So. Obviously, just having that to fall back on, just knowing, I'm still in it. We're still good. They still got faith in me. It means the world.
4 receptions, 107 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And maybe the most predictive thing going forward is that he had 8 targets, which was twice as many as anyone else on the team. And look, I feel like the fantasy community going into the season and the betting community as well, we're all predicting that there was going to be a rookie wide receiver in Green Bay who was going to rise to stardom, and everyone was predicting it was going to be Romeo Doubs. Well, Romeo Doubs is down, and Christian Watson absolutely took that role against Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, so I don't know that you expect 3 touchdowns any particular week, and they had no Romeo Doubs in this game and no Randall Cobb as well. So maybe that explains somewhat of the 42% target share, but targets are earned, right? And so I think, just, again, Watson talking about the confidence that they had in him, that Rodgers and LaFleur had on him after the bad drops. And, the very first game of the year, Watson had a bad drop. But this is somebody who has a size and speed profile that made everyone excited when he was initially drafted. And then as training camp went on and you heard buzz about Dobbs, people started to turn off of Watson. But the fact of the matter is that next week against Tennessee, you feel good about Watson. Again, we'll get more into it on the waiver wire show, but 32. I thought this is interesting. 32% of his targets this year have come on deep passes. That's important when you've got 12 throwing you the ball, because he's as good a deep ball thrower as any quarterback in the NFL.
Yep. What does this do for Aaron Rodgers going forward? We said to drop him everywhere. Does Christian Watson make him viable again after? I mean, he only has 20 pass attempts, but he goes 224 and those three touchdowns.
That's the thing. I mean, just the touchdown passes are, I feel like, a little bit fluky. Yep. And again, the volume isn't there. He throws 20 passes, and even in a game in which everything went right, 224 yards and 20 pass attempts. He does get the 3 touchdowns, but okay. But, they want to run. Here's his upcoming schedule. Home to Tennessee, at Philadelphia, at Chicago, bye. Tennessee's defense is playing really well these days. I don't know how you feel. That game's in Green Bay at least, so you feel okay about them. Don't love them at Philadelphia, not at all. At Chicago, I know Aaron Rodgers owns Chicago, and the Bears' defense isn't the Bears' defense. I mean, they just gave up whatever it was, 31 or 30 points to the Lions, but, and then a bye. So maybe you're using him one or 2 weeks in the next 4, maybe. Yep. So I guess my point is that, it's good if you have Christian Watson. I think it'll ultimately be good if you have Allen Lazard, just sort of a bad day at the office for him. But, even in his best game of the season, he was fine. Because he gives you nothing with his legs.
No, not anymore. I do think against Tennessee that might be viable, just because we've seen how frequently teams just completely give up on the run against the Titans because they have the best rush defense in the league. So that might be one, but I think that will be the big test for Rodgers. Let's look at Dallas' side of the ball. Tony Pollard does basically what he does whenever he starts, goes 22, 115 and a touchdown, adds a little bit in the pass game as well. But the story was CeeDee Lamb, who everyone talks about Justin Jefferson yesterday, rightfully so. I mean, technically, CeeDee Lamb had a better game statistically because he got the 2 touchdowns. Anything else that was interesting from the Dallas side?
Yeah, I think Dalton Schultz, so very quietly, especially given how bad tight end is this year, Dalton Schultz, 6 for 54, he gets the touchdown here. But I think what's important here is 8 targets. And since week 7, when Dalton Schultz returned, he had that knee injury, he's the 4th best tight end in fantasy football, right? He's had at least 5 catches in all 3 games. And I just bring that up because I don't think people are like, oh, yeah, Dalton Schultz is fine. He's the 4th best tight end in fantasy in that time. I don't think people realize how good Dalton Schultz. Again, the bar is low for, it's Kelsey and Andrews and then everyone else sort of thing. But I think people don't give a lot of sense to how good Dalton Schultz is. The other concern here, and just moving off of this game, is just A.J. Dillon, whose passing game role has just completely evaporated.
Yep.
He's a touchdown-dependent flex at this point. He got a decent amount of work in a game script that the Packers were leading. But to your point, you don't love him next week against Tennessee.
No.
Because he's just getting no passing game work.
No, I don't think you start him against Tennessee. If he's in your flex, you feel bad. All right, let's jump into some of the notable injuries from yesterday, headlined by the Offensive Player of the Year last year, Cooper Kupp, with a scary injury to his ankle.
Yeah, initial reports coming out of LA is that maybe it's not as bad as initially feared, but still not great. We'll hopefully get more on this, but this would just be absolutely devastating to fantasy managers, to the Rams, to my little Cooper Kupp. I'm just praying for this. We talked about Juju and the concussion. Zach Ertz is going to miss multiple weeks. Looks like Trey McBride will be the guy for the Cardinals going forward. We'll talk more about that tomorrow as well. Khalil Herbert leaves at the end of the game. We'll see about that. And then finally, just want to note that while we were talking about the Cowboys game, Fantasy Life app gives me a quick alert. It's so great. You don't have to follow all these people on Twitter because the app just gives you all these free alerts. Anyway, Adam Schefter tweeting out that the expectation per source is that Leonard Fournette will be fine in Week 12 when they come back. So that's per Adam Schefter. Thank you, Fantasy Life app, for the notification. More on these injuries tomorrow during the Waiver Wire show. We'll have more of a sense. We'll hear from press conferences and get more information.
Yep.
But in the meantime, prayers up for Cooper Kupp. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.